I went back to Kansas City, and maybe a year or two later, about a year later, I was back out on the West Coast, and I got to participate in the feeding programs, in this area in Santa Monica. So it was right by the beach. And I was living in California. I was actually staying in the house of the person that had the program. One of the ladies who started this charity. And basically, I was in charge of running the feeding program, which entailed basically organizing the volunteers and then taking a check to McDonald's, getting the hamburgers and French fries, and then taking it to the location to give them out. And we weren't giving them out on the street. We were giving them out inside of a kitchen thing. There was a safe environment to do it in. And then the people would just line up outside. And then so, volunteers would come and, usually our Hatha yogis, and they want to serve. But then there wasn't always everybody couldn't always be the one giving out the hamburger or whatever, which is what everybody wants to do, in the feeding program. They want to be the one giving out the food. But what I came to realize was, when other people come and they want to help too, you just kind of have to let them, also give out stuff. And so that basically means that there's less service for you to do, right? Because you might just be standing there, right? But everybody might be able to give 20 burgers, and then that's it. And each time you give it out, you feel the energy. And the more you feed, the more energy goes out, and the bigger the chakras get, and the more good karma you get. So I was always looking for ways to magnify and leverage my time, as well as the good karma coming back. And in the case of giving out food, we always pray over the food, bless the food, energize it. If we're giving out water, always bless the water and stuff. But they'll eat it, and then the energy gets used up, and then so that's a short term good karma. But say if I gave that person, somebody who wanted to learn, say, pranic healing, here's a book, a master, and then the book would just keep, or an Om CD, right? You give somebody an Om CD, and they keep playing it for years, and that'll keep giving. So when I came back to Kansas City, I was looking for places to feed, and I was desperate. I was I need to go serve, and I need to feed. But when I went, down to the city where all the feeding was, I couldn't really find anything, and a lot of places were really closed off to outside people, and a lot of them are ran by churches and stuff. And it's a group of volunteers, and there's normally a head person, and they're kind of want to be the boss, and so sometimes it's not so easy just to come in and start helping out. But there's a way around that, where they'll be rolling out the red carpet for you to come help. But so what I did was I found one feeding. It was on I don't know, a Thursday night downtown, in the middle of a field. There was a neighborhood, but there was a vacant lot. And so once a week, they'd come out with tables and food and lay out everything on the, outside. And then people would come from the neighborhood, and all the people who were hungry would come and eat the food. But I remember when I first came up there, I was hey, I want to be the one giving out the chips or whatever. And they're no, you need to, bounce over there. You need to go over there and give out the napkins, or no, there's not even anything for you to do. You should just leave. I remember one time they're trying, and this was the first time I was doing feeding. I had to kind of just push my way up in there to give out stuff, and they'd be kind of some of the volunteers were also kind of protective of their their feeding program. And so, I was an outsider, but, I kept coming back. The next week I came back, and I was getting, friendly with the guy running it. And I was, hey, what else is there feeding going on? Is there anything else going on? And it was like, yeah, over there at noon every day over there at the Salvation Army, they do feeding. I was like, cha-ching. I found a place to go and do, and it's every day it's happening. I was like, wow. Because normally I was feeding once a week and that was it. And then I'd have to wait till the next week. So there wasn't like a lot of good karma coming from it. Not as much as I would like to have. So I started going to the Salvation Army, every day. And there would be, they would serve 200 meals. Doesn't necessarily mean it was 200 people, but and it was an actual kitchen where they prepare the food, and we're there with the hairnet and we're slopping out the, whatever on the lunch tray, just like they have in school. A lot of schools, like in the U.S., they have a lunch tray and you slap some stuff in there and slide the tray down, and and then you give it to the people, and then they would eat and then we'd clean up. And I was there for 3 or 4 weeks, and I kind of also had to sometimes create my own position because they wouldn't need help, and some of them had paid people that are already there, and they didn't the people coming in and being such a good volunteer that that you kind of threaten their paid job. But I kept coming every day, and then they're like, hey, there's another feeding downtown, and they feed 500. I was like, what? 500? And I was like, okay. I went down there, and I instantly hit it off with the lady running the place, and her mother, Mama Jane was her name, and these ladies had golden auras. These people, Mama Jane, these people had fed 1 million meals, 1 million people, basically, 1 million meals. It could be the same people every day of the week. So it's not necessarily you count them each day as another person, but meals is more accurate. But so anyways, they had cooked and served 1 million meals, and then this was a paid position though. This was a professional soup kitchen, down in the city, here in Kansas City. There was part of a very big church that had a lot of money. And so they had a budget of $100,000 a year budget. So for every part of the kitchen, the dishwasher, the cooks, everything was paid. They were paid to be there. There was no way you could run this place without this paid people. It was just too massive. 500 meals a day, Monday through Friday, they were preparing. So I found out about that place, and then I started going to that place every day, and I was like, wow. Every day at lunchtime, I think I would go around 11 to 1 p.m. every day. I would go down there, and sometimes I would get to serve food, but I got really good at cooking the food. And then I found ways for me to serve, because they didn't always need the people serving. Oh, and here's the key to get them to allow you to come help and love you. Oh, please come. You walk in to a soup kitchen or to the charity, and it's like, hey, what do you guys need? And they love to hear that. You walk into any of these places and you say, hey, what do you guys need? And do you guys need food? Do you need money? Do you need soap? Do you need whatever? And they'll be like, oh, come, let's talk. Yeah, we need this and this and this. And yeah, you might have to go and buy a few things, but it's good karma for you. And they're going to love you. And so I got in good with the lady that ran the place the first day, and her grandma, not her grandma, Mama Jane. So I would start going every day, and sometimes I would help clean. I would always help clean up, dump the trash out, help with the dishes. Nobody wants to do the dishes. And normally, they have the normal group of people that worked there, but every day there'd be a whole crew of volunteers that came in. You needed probably, I don't know, a good 5 volunteers to run this place. At least 5 to 7 volunteers to, dish out the food part. Because it was done on trays, and there was always meat. Always meat. Oh my God. Always meat. Pork. Oh, like massive, massive vats of pork, and cooking it, and like got this big old oar, stirring it all up. And it was like, and I'm vegetarian, right? So,